Hello, you beautiful nerds. So the 8th and possibly final Mission Impossible movie just came out. This movie and the one preceding it went through a lot of shit to get made. I'm sure you've heard a lot of the stories. Thankfully, it's finally here, and I'm not here to talk about all the problems. I'm here to talk about all the good stuff about this franchise. That's right, I thought it would be fun to rank all the Mission Impossible movies in my personal favorite order, from worst to best. So after these messages, let's get right into our list.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Have you ever watched a movie from your childhood and thought it doesn't quite hold up like you remember? Well, then you would enjoy our bi-weekly series, Does It Hold Up?, where we revisit classic genre films with a special guest to help us determine if it is as good or as bad as we remember. It's a whole lot of fun, so you should check it out.
Please check out the Drunk Bantha channel. They clearly are ready for being seen at a higher level.
Back to the show.
Okay, let's get it started. So again, this list is from worst to best, saving the best for last. So obviously, we're starting off with the pacing is slow, the villain is forgettable, and the action, even for Mission Impossible, is way over the top. I do love the addition of Melanie Tindway Newton as a love interest for Ethan, especially since this is the only time Ethan is romantically involved with a woman of color. Because in other movies, he certainly has a type. Unfortunately, Tandy and a few good action sequences can't save this one. Far and away the worst of the franchise. You know, now that I think about it, it would have made a lot of sense to bring her back as the thief character in the newer Mission Impossible movies, but apparently Tandy Newton had a terrible time, so... I mean, they might have asked. I'm sure she said no. Speaking of which, at number 7, we have... I'm going to talk about this one a little bit more than the others since it just came out. Much like the story of Dead Reckoning, the plot of this movie is really convoluted. In Dead Reckoning, they play around with this silly, omnipresent, I know every move you're about to make type thing. They don't lean on that as much in this movie, but we're still stuck with a whack-ass villain in Gabriel. Gabriel is just so cheesy in all the wrong ways. Ethan saying mission accomplished at the end of Mission Impossible 4 is the perfect kind of cheese for these movies. It's the kind of cheese that we've all grown accustomed to in these movies. But Gabriel is way too mustache twirling. And that's another thing. For as corny as Gabriel is, this movie is taking itself way too serious. All of the McQuarrie movies tend to be a little too melodramatic for my taste. In this movie, there are storylines that are utterly uninteresting. And when you look at the runtime, you start thinking, could we have taken some of this stuff out? We do get every single one of my favorite character actors in this movie for some reason. Katie O'Brien, Nick Offerman, just like so many actors that I'd love to see. But they are all giving such dour, bland performances. Like Katie O'Brien and Hannah Waddingham basically have the same performance, and it's crazy. They are very different actors. I get that the stakes are high, but everyone is talking in the same monotone, stone-faced serious way, and it got boring. Especially with the avalanche of exposition at the beginning of the film. And I'm not going to go through every plot point of this movie, but I have to bring up one thing that really bothered me. So at some point, it is revealed that the Rabbit's Foot, the MacGuffin from the third movie, was actually the entity in its infancy. And they were all like, this is your fault, Ethan. You stole the entity from Damien. You started all of this. And I was like, but he got it back. They're all like, you shouldn't have sold that thing to Damien, but like, he got it back at the end of the movie. That's how the movie is. Did Christopher McQuarrie forget the ending of every Mission Impossible movie where he saves the day and gets the thing back? Not sure why they decided to include this, but it was just one of many additions from older movies that this flick just didn't need. This isn't even usually that kind of franchise. And I'm kind of surprised that this film decided to do this so much in a time where audiences have pretty much collectively decided that they don't really like that shit no more. Not a perfect ending, but the stunts were still magnificent. And at the end of the day, it's a fun popcorn movie that just lasts entirely too long. All right, next up on the list, number 6, Part 1. This one was a strange experience for me. Like I mentioned, I wasn't a huge fan of the final Dead Reckoning, and I do feel like this one is better. The McQuarrie movies have always been put together in this haphazard, let's plan the action and work our way backwards when it comes to the story kind of way. And it's worked out for them pretty well, at least, with the end product. But these two films are the first time it felt like they literally just hastily threw everything together. The tone is inconsistent, the villain is not very interesting, and the plot is so very convoluted to be so very simple. If Dead Reckoning and Final Reckoning was just like called Reckoning or something, and it was a 3-hour movie instead of two 170-minute movies, I think it would have been a lot more satisfying than the end product that we got. But hey, still not as bad as Mission Impossible 2. All right, now it's time to talk about the good movies. And I think this is where my ranking is going to start to get a little controversial for some of you people, so make sure to leave in the comments how stupid and wrong I am. But anyway, number 5. I've only seen this one a few times, but the first time I did watch it, I was blown away by how good it was. I was like, damn, holy, what? I am like always blown away by how well that third act works, especially. There are things like the bathroom fight scene, which is amazing. Like, I always remember those crazy action set pieces, but the script is actually really fucking good. At the end, the middle is a little boring and silly with the whole, like, who's the bad guy? Like, Ethan's pretending to be the bad guy, but then it turns out it's Henry Cavill who's the bad guy. It's just like, it feels like the whole Satchel storyline in Atomic Blonde. A little bit much. A little too much mustard on the hot dog. But this movie comes together so perfectly at the end that I kind of wish it were the last one. It was a great choice by Tom and McQuarrie to have these movies be more serialized, because it does lend to the emotional impact of the third act. Like, that movie ties in storylines from Mission Impossible 3 specifically way better than the new movies do. And did we ever find out what was going on with his ex-girlfriend and Gabriel? Actually, you know what? Never mind. We're done talking about that movie. Anyway, next on the list, number 4. The original Don Dada. That's a remake of another remake. Anyway, this one's still really good. It's definitely more of a slow-burning psychological thriller than the action spectacle the franchise turned into, but it still weirdly feels like it fits. Ethan still feels like the same character, and this is a great first big mission story for our hero. Used to be higher on my list, but after rewatching some of these films, especially rewatching it for this new movie that's coming out, my appreciation for these films have shifted a little bit recently. And with that being said, let's get to our top 3. Number 3. I kind of shocked myself by where I ranked this one. This one's pretty darn good. For whatever reason, I remember this one not being as good. I don't know why. I didn't dislike it or anything the first time, but it was taking itself a little more seriously than some of the other ones. And I don't know. I guess I wasn't 100% buying it. The action is great as always, and the movie is fun. Like, it's the McQuarrie movies progressively get a little less fun, but it's still so much fun. Like, the opening scene is probably like the open. You know, there's always an opening mission that they do right before the theme song kicks off. This one is probably my favorite opening scene, and the addition of Rebecca Ferguson was perfect. She's exactly what the franchise needed, and her presence is unfortunately very much missed in the later films when they try to basically replace her with Haley Atwell. Though I love Peggy Carter, I'm glad that she ended up making it in the franchise. The introduction of Solomon as a nemesis was also pretty great. I did love how at the end they put him in a little box. Like, I remember rewatching this movie this time and being like, all right, yeah, okay, let's get this one over with. And then, like, by the end, I was like, oh, I think I love this movie. Like, the double agent stuff gets a little, okay, you know, exhausting. But yeah, this one's a banger. Let's move on to number 2. Another banger. Like, these movies are so good. This one is so cool and funny and just like so charming. I love the hell out of this movie. I'm very surprised that this is the only one that Brad Bird did, because he totally understood the assignment. Also, how did we not get, like, why aren't we hiring Brad Bird to make all the action movies? Can we get him to direct a James Bond or Batman or something awesome? Can we give him something awesome, please? He's awesome. Like, this movie and MI3, I give all the credit in the world to cultivating the style of this franchise. Crazy, crazy action that is somewhat practical and grounded in realism, not Mission Impossible 3, while still making it funny and tongue-in-cheek. Like, that Dubai scene is fucking nuts, man. And not just because, you know, Tom is hanging off the largest building in the world. That's very, very cool. But the way that it's shot, the way that the tension is built up, the way that Ethan really does not want to do this. Like, I love that aspect of Ethan's character. Like, he will go above and beyond for his friends and for the mission, but doesn't mean he fucking wants to. That is a very tall building. The top of the third act gets a little more before we get to that final action sequence, which is awesome. And that's when we get the aforementioned moment where Ethan says, "Mission accomplished." And I love that Bing Rames calls him out on that later. It's like, you're the corniest dude I've ever met, Ethan. I also love that Luther is in all of these movies. Like, he wasn't on the team in this movie. Maybe they felt like it would be redundant to have two guys in the chair who are good at tech stuff. They end up making it work in the next movie, but I get why they didn't put him in this one. But at the same time, he does come in at the end. Like, I love that. Like, why not bring everybody back? Like, let's have Mackie Q on the dock too. Like, yeah, let's bring everybody. Anyway, that's my number 2. I'm sure you can guess what my number 1 is. It's crazy to think that this was kind of a comeback film for the franchise, even though it didn't even make that much money. Like, the way that this ends, you can tell that they didn't know if they were gonna get to make another one. But I love everything about this one. The new team is awesome, the action is fantastic, the missions are cleverly executed, and it's actually emotional as hell. I'm not usually a fan of the in media res thing, where we start the movie where it's gonna end, and then we get the whole, 3 weeks earlier. That usually irritates me, but I didn't mind it in this movie at all, especially since it's just such an emotionally charged moment. Philip Seymour Hoffman doing the Lord's work. But yeah, this movie is just so well done. It's written probably the best out of all the movies, in my opinion. I actually teared up when I watched it this time around. I was like, holy shit, why am I crying during this wedding scene? But yeah, it's a wonderful film that stands on its own. Like, you could kind of watch this one divorced from any of the other Mission Impossible movies. I think this one and Mission Impossible 1 are kind of the only 2 movies you can say that about. It's probably controversial to have it this high, but I don't care. I love it. Looking back, this is such an impressive franchise. Watching them back to back like this is like, damn, these movies are good. On paper, these movies are very comparable to the Fast and Furious franchise. Found family of misfits who routinely save the world, whose marketing usually consists of wait till you see what we did this time. But there's a lot more thought and care and attention to detail that goes into these mission movies. I care about these characters, and I'm still thrilled by most of these action sequences when I watch them today. Like, if Ludacris dies in the next Fast and Furious movie, I'm not going to give 2 shits. Mostly because they'll probably just bring him back like they did what's his fucking face. If this truly is the end, Tom and the crew certainly sent the people home happy. Again, Final Reckoning isn't my favorite of the franchise, but none of these movies are bad. Well, actually, only one of these movies are bad. But the truth is, Mission Impossible's worst movie is still unironically way better than the best Fast and Furious. And if you want me to make a video comparing the 2 franchises, let me know in the comments. I'll do that for you kids. But that's it for this video. If you made it this far and you're still watching, thank you so much. And if you stop watching, farts and butts. Who cares? You don't know. You're not watching. But if you did like this video, you should subscribe to the Nerds at Night, the Drunk Panthers, and Does It Hold Up YouTube channel. We have podcasts, video essays, interviews, and a lot of other stuff going on, so you should check it out. But until next time, stay safe, my little cruciform keys, and may the Force be with you.